What the heck is Deform? Um, well, it's a system, framework, whatever you want to call it, that you use in Unity. Um, and its purpose is to make deforming meshes something that's kind of easily doable and relatively performant in real time. Um, so how does it work? Well, it's component based. So what does that mean? That just means you add a component and it deforms. So what does deform even mean? Like what type of deformations would be happening? Well, here's the folder that is going to contain all of the form. Let's open the code folder. Let's open the components folder. Let's open the deformers folder. What's in here? Deformers. Deformers are in here. So uh, I'm always adding to this. This is not the final ultimate collection of deformers that you never want anything else. But it's a good starting point. So let's see, what's a good one to do? Well, let's add a noise deformer. Yeah, we just drag it on the mesh and it's getting deformed. Um, so what are these two components? We've got the deformer component manager, which that's a whole lot of words, and we've got the noise deformer. Well, we can kind of guess what that was. That's what we just added. Um, this deformer component manager was not there before I added the noise deformer. All of these deformers need this deformer component manager, and the deformer component manager kind of needs these deformers. What this does is kind of, if you think about the name for a second, you might figure it out. It manages all of these deformer components. So whenever you add whenever you add a deformer to a mesh, this will pick up on it and say, hey, I'm gonna keep track of you and I'm gonna manage you. So if we show debug info, we can see the deformers. We can see it knows there's a noise deformer. Now, the way it works, which I feel like, okay, yeah, I'll explain it. Okay, so kind of the way the system works is this manager keeps track of a list of all of the deformers on this object. At the start of the frame, or at some point in the frame when it's time for the deformer manager to do stuff, it looks at the list of deformers, looks at the first one, and sends all of the vertex data of the mesh to the deformer, let's say the noise deformer, in this handy method called modify, which maybe it should be called deform. But right now it's called modify. So it sends vertex data. What is vertex data? Well, it's the position of a vertex. It's the base position of a vertex. So if maybe the deformer is receiving, there's some previous deformers that have already modified the vertex data, but they want to know what the original position is, base position, the normal, the tangent, the UV. So the manager sends that vertex data to the first deformer, noise deformer. The noise deformer, let's look at what it does, which you don't have to fully understand, what it's doing, but it loops through all the vertices, and then it does noise to them. It changes the vertex data, and then it returns it. Well, the deformer manager receives the modified vertex data and sends it to the next deformer. So it's additive, and order matters. So that means is you could add noise, and then you could, I don't know, this might look stupid. It does. Then you could deform it along a curve. Now, sometimes the order doesn't really matter that much. Like, it's gonna look the same. It's gonna, add noise and then move it along a curve. It's not gonna look that different if you move it along a curve and then add noise. Yeah, it kind of looks the same. Whatever. But it does add, it gives you a little bit of control. Nice to have. And sometimes it will matter. So yeah, that's kind of the basics of how it works. The manager has a list of deformers. It sends the vertex data of the mesh to each deformer, and then sends the deformed vertex data of the previous deformer to the next one until it hits the last one. The last deformer modifies the vertex data, sends it back. Then the manager applies all of the positions of that vertex data back to the actual mesh that you're looking at in the game or in the editor, and then you see it, and then it looks awesome. So I think that's a good short little overview. And then in the next video, I'm going to go over how to make your own, kind of what the code looks like, and maybe some extra features. Kind of go over some features.